September 29th is a long time.
Yeah, it is. That means everybody's doing their budgets properly, right?
Call the meeting to order. 6:34. Roll call all members present except Michelle Montano. She was excused and was unable to make the rescheduled meeting. First, next item of business, election of officers. Any nominations?
I'll make a motion to approve Brian Lima as chairman.
Second? That's taken care of.
Any other nominations? Motion that the nominations be closed.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there a motion or a vote on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Boy, I like those guys.
Thank you all for the support. Now we have a nomination for vice chair. Someone would like to make a nomination?
I'll nominate Joe Castagnoli. What about Scott?
I can go either way, doesn't,
Yep.
it's okay with me.
You don't do any work, so.
That's fine. That's fine with me.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
Sure. Joe, you want
Sure, yeah.
it? Okay.
You're on.
Very contentious.
Yeah.
There's a nomination on the floor. Are there any other nominations?
No.
Move the nominations be closed.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Fitzpatrick. Seconded?
Second.
Second by Scott. All those in favor of Joe's
Aye.
nomination? Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Okay.
Okay, consideration of minutes of regular meeting, September 14th.
Make a motion to approve.
Second that.
Seconded by Mr. Fitzpatrick. Any discussion on the minutes? None. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are adopted. Any correspondence? I have no correspondence. Next item on the agenda is an executive session, so now that everyone's gotten comfortable, I'm gonna have to ask.
We can go to my office.
You wanna just go to the office?
Seems like a lot of people here.
Sure. I'll have a motion to go into executive session.
So moved again?
No, let's just do it, because we're gonna be voting on some of the items that are.
Okay.
It's an anticipation of some of the items on the agenda.
So there's a motion, may I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Castagnoli, seconded by Mr. Marlowe. All those in favor of the motion?
And within going into executive session, we
We will
also invite
invite,
the city attorney,
And Mr.
Ray
Macaluso.
super consultant, and myself.
Thank you. And that's the motion, Joe, as I mentioned?
Yeah.
That was the understanding. Do we need anybody else? No. I don't know if it works, no? It's up to you, I don't think. No, okay. All those, just vote, all in favor? As amended? Opposed? Into executive session. We should not be long.
Oh, aren't you fancy? Go ahead.
How about you guys?
Better than keeping the body. That's better.
I'll look
Okay,
into
we're
it
out of
again.
executive session at
Okay,
6:57. Next item on the agenda is new business, consideration of budget memo transfer number 3. Motion on the floor.
Make a motion.
Okay, good.
Motion by Mr. Marlowe. Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Second by Mr. Castagnoli. The motion is to approve budget memo transfer number 3, Fund 10, FY15. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those.
Yes, I'd like to, first of all, who's gonna answer the question about the wages on that? This is transfer in the highway parks.
Chris Sally's here.
Oh, yeah, Chris. What wages are we transferring from?
We've had a few positions that have been unfulfilled, or unfilled, I should say. And so we've had a little bit of an excess in those accounts. We're presently filling those positions up.
Okay, this is the funds that were not paid out, all those wages?
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay.
Retirements and other.
And the people are gonna be hired, but that's okay. These, it's not gonna be backloading to them,
No.
No way.
No.
okay? I'm all set on
Any
that.
further
Are
discussion?
these positions still in the proposed budget?
Yes, yes. What happens normally when, right now, we're redoing all our job descriptions.
Okay.
So when someone leaves, what we're trying to do is update them. The personnel director is doing that, so there's a lag, and then the union has to review the job descriptions. Then they have to be posted internally, and if there's no internal candidate, then they get posted externally. Then you get a pool of candidates, and you set up interviews, so there's a time lag with everybody.
But those positions are in your proposed
Yes,
budget?
yes.
Okay. You know how many positions by any chance?
That are presently vacant.
Yeah.
I would say, I don't know the exact number, but I think there's probably 4 or 5.
For at least 4 or 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any further discussion on the motion?
Not on that one.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The second half of the transfer is consideration of budget memo transfer number 4, Fund 10, FY15. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve it.
Motion to approve by Mr. Casanoli. Is there a second?
Yes, this is,
Second by Mr. Fitzpatrick.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Any discussion on the motion?
I'm sorry, Bill. What accounts is this equipment and supply and upkeep? Are we not gonna have any additional funds being requested as we get to the end of the year? You're saying this is gonna cover until the end of the year for repairs to equipment and vehicles?
That's, the account was originally budgeted for about $250,000. We've spent an awful lot of money fixing some vehicles that had some major repairs that were off-road. It was one of the reasons, I know we talked with you gentlemen when I first started about the overtime component with sanitation. We probably put almost $100,000 into sanitation trucks. We have not had one truck down incurring overtime since we've done that, but it was an investment into the trucks. So there's been a substantial amount of investment into the vehicle fleet that we presently have.
Okay, so we can almost expect that we're not gonna have to spend any more money in that account until the end of the year or not?
I would certainly hope so.
I hope so, yeah, okay. I'm all set, thank you.
Is this mainly for garbage trucks?
So garbage trucks, plow trucks, any vehicles that come in, police vehicles, it's our whole fleet, except for fire, we're not responsible for fire.
Okay.
And if you look at the history, that account is traditionally not fully funded towards the end of the year. At any fiscal year, we usually come back and ask for a legislative transfer. Generally, it's towards the end of the year. On this occasion, we're actually, it's usually several transfers over the course of the end of the year period. In this occasion, we're doing it a little bit earlier on than we normally do.
Thank you. Any further discussion? There's a motion on the floor and seconded to approve budget memo transfer number 4, Fund 10, FY15. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, approval of 2015 schedule of regular Board of Finance meetings. I think everyone has a copy in front of them. Is there a motion to approve?
Make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Casanoli, second by Mr. Marlowe. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to adopt the schedule is approved. Item 7D, is there a motion, and if you could read the motion in its entirety, please. Item 7D.
I'll make a motion to approve item D, consideration of an ordinance appropriating $10,390,000 for various school improvements and authorizing the issuance of $10,390,000 in bonds of the city to meet said appropriation, and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose.
Thank you, Mr. Marlowe.
Second.
Second by Mr. Castanoli. In discussion, I note that there are members from the Board of Ed here. They would like to, you're welcome to
Join
come
us.
up if you'd like, join us, or we can just simply discuss it, whatever your preference.
We're happy to answer any questions that we have.
Okay.
We're grateful to the mayor for putting these projects forward. They are the projects that are on our 5-year capital improvement plan. So they've come up the ranks, and they're pretty much in the priority that the board voted on. So we would respectfully request your approval and answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Mr. Riccicelli. Members of the board, any discussion?
I have a question on the roof replacement. You have various elementary schools of $825,000, and then we go down to Harborside, replacement of roof. Why isn't Harborside under the various elementary roof replacements?
Because Harborside is roof and windows.
Right.
So we would do that project together.
And it's middle school.
And it's one of the middle schools. All of our elementary roofs, West Shore and Harborside, are the roofs that need to be done. Warren, Law, and East Shore have roofs that are up to date. So the ones that are not are included in this request. But the Harborside and West Shore would be done in conjunction with the bigger project. The elementary roofs would be on their own.
Does this bring us up, that would bring us up to date with all the roofs on the schools besides Harborside, which will be done at some point later on?
Correct.
And how about the high schools? I know those are such large roofs, are those complete?
They are. The board, 2 bond authorizations ago, approved the final pieces to the law and foreign roofs. They had been done in sections over the years, and we completed both of those about a year and a half ago. So both foreign and law are up to date as far as the roofs go.
And when are we looking to do this again, I guess is the question. I mean, because with that roof, it was done in over periods of time, right, the larger roof, so.
Right.
So like painting the bridge where once you're done, you gotta start over?
Well, the life expectancy of the roof is 20 years.
Right.
So we shouldn't have to do anything on foreign and law for at least a decade.
Okay.
One thing to note is that the vast majority of these projects under this ordinance are reimbursable at 50%. So it's almost, if it's a total of $10 million, or a little over $10 million, we should be seeing almost half of that reimbursed. Generally, things like school security upgrades are not reimbursed at all. However, the Board of Education applied for a separate grant, so that it is reimbursable almost at 50%. I think it was like 46%. So there are some things that normally aren't reimbursable, like school security upgrades, that in this particular situation, just because grants were offered after Newtown, that makes these projects reimbursable.
That was one of my questions, Mr. Mayor. The traffic flow and safety improvements in Meadowside, are the safety improvements related to traffic, or are they related to security?
Unless we can tie it to school security upgrades, that one would likely not be reimbursable. But I think other than that, and maybe the intercom system, which we're also trying to tie to a reimbursable security project, those would be the two projects that would not be reimbursable out of the 7 that are listed here.
I have one other question too, Jim. On the hazardous material abatement at the 2 high schools, where does that bring us in getting rid of everything?
Sure. This project, this bond authorization will finish foreign completely.
Okay.
The foreign will be all done. Actually, the design work has already been done, but the last bond authorization just didn't go far enough with the money that was required. So there's green hall that still needs to be done in some small miscellaneous areas throughout the school, but this will finish foreign altogether. And then law, we estimate will be a 2 or 3 phase project, so probably approximately $1 million in this authorization, and then probably 2 more of $1 million each.
The 2 phases will not be covered in this 2 million.
No,
Has any abatement been done in law?
no.
None at all?
I take that back.
Yeah.
There have been additions that have been done over the years. The additions have, the abatement has been done in those additions. But in the original parts of the school, no, we haven't done any major hazardous material abatement, no.
Could you give us an update on all the schools? Because I think we're getting them piecemeal, and I'd just like to see all the schools and what's been done and what remains to be done.
Yeah, we can do that. I will tell you it is in piecemeal because we do, depending on how much the city is able to bond that particular year,
Right.
is what we're able to do. I can tell you that East Shore is virtually done. There's a little bit more that we need to do there. And JFK is completely done. But all of the other schools have asbestos and hazardous materials because now they include PCBs.
Yeah, I just want to see a list of all the schools and what's been done and what needs to be done.
Sure.
So that we kind of have a scorecard instead of, right now, we're just looking at little, pieces on each school.
Sure.
And the future projects are outlined to some degree in the capital improvement plan. And here's the general outline and the timeframes for which we're scheduling to authorize the funds and complete the projects. And I can give you a copy of the capital improvement plan too.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
On these projects, Jimmy, are they same contractor doing this work, or they go out to bid every time you're doing these?
Every project has to go out to
It
bid.
has to go off a bid. Those bids, are they in the paper, or how do they go out?
Oh, yeah. They have to go out by law, they have to be on the State Department of Education, or I take that back. The State Department of Administrative Services website. It has to be advertised there. It has to be advertised in a local newspaper with circulation in the area that we're in. And then it also gets advertised in other, on our website and other areas that the purchasing agent.
What
generally-
paper do you use, newspaper do you use, you know?
I think it changes every year depending on the rates. See, all of, the vast majority of these projects get turned over to the Permanent Schools Facilities Building Committee. And then they bid through the city's purchasing department. And the purchasing agent puts it in whatever newspaper is the cheapest that particular year.
Yeah, because I don't recall seeing many of these, okay?
But I can tell you that the, once these projects are advertised, it's widely circulated, and we get, there's a tremendous amount of interest on the part of contractors to bid on these jobs. But then, I mean, when you get into the bigger jobs, the $20 million projects or above, then there are less contractors because of their capacity to do the work.
One other thing on this, like Joe is wanting to break down by school, could you, when you put this out for us, indicate which projects are 50% reimbursable?
I can tell you which one. As the mayor said, all of them on here are eligible for state reimbursement of eligible costs, except for the Meadowside traffic improvements and the Harborside West Shore intercom replacement. All of the others are.
I'm sorry, the metal side of the who?
The Meadowside traffic, and
yeah.
the last one that's on the list, which is Harborside West Shore intercom and bell upgrades.
Mm-hmm. That may not be.
It's not.
It definitely won't.
Well, as the mayor said, we're going to be looking into, see if we can tie that into security and possibly use some security dollars for that.
Okay.
So the Permanent School Facility Building Committee has approved these?
No, you're the first stop.
Okay.
And then it goes to the Board of Aldermen, I believe, next week. And they have resolutions which are required by the state. In order to get reimbursement, the state requires the legislative body to turn the project over to a building committee. And the building committee that the city has designated is the Permanent School Facilities Building Committee.
One more question is to Peter. when we get the reimbursement for the 50% of these projects, does that fund money go into general fund, or is that, can we apply that to this bond?
The money, for the most part, goes to pay off the short-term notes, the bond anticipation
Okay.
notes, so that we retire that short-term debt with the grant money. If there is an outstanding cash advance from the general fund because we have not gone out to a foreign note sale at the time, then I will pay off the general fund
Okay.
with that portion.
So in essence, it does go back to paying this bond.
They just won't issue the bonds.
We won't issue
But
any.
we have, in order to get the reimbursement, you need to authorize the bonds in the first
Yeah.
instance.
Yes.
So,
Okay, I'm all set on that. You move?
Anybody further?
No.
Thank you all. There's a motion on the floor to approve the appropriation of $10,390,000 for the various school improvements. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is item 7E.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, thank you.
Feel better, sir.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve an ordinance appropriating $10,262,230 for various public improvements and authorizing the issuance of $10,262,230 of bonds of the city to meet said appropriation and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose.
Second.
There's a motion to approve by Mr. Fitzpatrick and a second by Mr. Castanoli. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Peter kind of answered this question before the meeting started, but first of all, what is CDBG?
Milford is an entitlement community, and we are part of, I think there's 11 in the state that are entitled communities. Fairfield's one, Milford's one, New Haven's one, West Haven's one, and we get an annual community development block grant through the Department of Housing. The grants that are here, that are listed under number 2, are community development block grants, disaster relief. That's what the DR stands for. And this was money that the U.S. Congress distributed to HUD, $16 billion worth of HUD money, who then distributed it to the state of Connecticut, a very, very, very small piece of that $16 billion. And Milford was awarded several projects through grants. This is post-storm Sandy. This is part of the relief and resiliency efforts post-storm Sandy, and Milford has done, as you see, very well. Under number 2, all of those projects are grants that are reimbursable, that we have to front the costs ahead of time. Most of them are 75% reimbursable. The award letters, at least for the Gulf Beach Breakwater and Morningside revetment, said that they were 100% reimbursable. We're not positive about that, but that's what the award letter said. They may only be 75% reimbursable, but all these grants are at least 75% reimbursable. And so we will recoup the vast majority of this $4,800,000 in expenditures that we're putting out. So just like the school projects, the vast majority of this, almost the entire amount will be reimbursed to the city after we front the money. These were all grants that we got. These were also all projects that we had identified as a need for. In fact, some of the projects, if you recall, the city of Milford moved forward on already to do some of the drainage work. And like the Bayview flooding mitigation project, that's something that we were already gonna do. But because we received this grant, we don't have to do it with taxpayer money, we get to do it with the money from these federal grants.
Wow.
So that's good news. And if you look at the whole bonding package that's before you, inclusive of the school funding, the general municipal funding, and the sewer funding, somewhere between 1/3 and 1/2 of the $28, $29 million is going to be reimbursed to the city. So,
Excellent.
Now, Mayor, are we getting reimbursed on the public library roof?
no, but that roof is 25 years old, and one of the reasons that we're moving on it now is because the city just was notified that it is eligible, that a project has been approved for solar on top of the roof at the library and over at one of the treatment plants. One of the conditions precedent for that, though, is we need a roof that's 5 years old or younger. So we need a new roof in order to make that project, but we have been given state incentive money in order to accomplish that. And it will be very, very cost efficient in order to do the roof now. Again, there was some patchwork that's been done over the last several years, but that roof is, Christine, how old?
It was actually, it's a little older, Mr. Mayor. It was done, it's an original roof along with the heating and air conditioning units on the roof for original. So in order to get the solar component, we figured it was time, it's over 30 years old, so it was time to update it and look at the infrastructure inside the building itself.
Now, will we be bonding for the solar panels and all that stuff? Or
That
gonna
is to
be-
come. We're looking into a power purchase agreement, but again, we still have to finalize that. We were notified that this is one of the projects that the state has green lighted, for lack of a better term, but Chris, do you have any more information about that?
Yeah, the way it works is that normally what happens is we enter into an agreement with a secondary company, and we do what the mayor is saying, a PPA, which is a power purchase agreement, and we guarantee that we're going to purchase power from them for the next 20 years at a predetermined amount, which is usually substantially less than what we're presently paying. There's no capital outlay for us, there's no maintenance costs involved, and the way the incentives work, there's incentives for these companies, they get tax credits, and then there's incentives through a fund at the UI that we all as tax ratepayers pay into that funds this fund, so.
Okay.
We're getting reimbursement on the Wepawag River project?
The Wepawag River project, and we have Mary Rose Palumbo, our inland wetlands agent, and Steve Johnson, our open space and natural resource agent here, to talk a little bit about that. The Wepawag River is something that has been on the capital improvement plan for many, many years for a variety of reasons. One, it's a flooding issue. I know our city attorney was right here, but he grew up in a house on the Wepawag River that
Yeah, John did.
that flooded. It's also an issue in terms of some environmental, I don't want to say hazards, but issues that Steve or Mary Rose can go into more. It's also an issue with spewing silt and debris into the head of the harbor. Probably about every 5 years, we have to dredge the head of the harbor because of the silt and sediment that flows downward from Woodbridge and Orange and parts of Milford all the way into our harbor that we have to spend $250,000 every so often to dredge or more. And so those are some of the reasons why we've identified it, this as a project. Also, as part of this project would be the walls of the duck ponds
Oh, yeah.
that are eroding into the water. The fact that the ducks are standing most of the time
On dirt.
on dirt. But there's a whole host of environmental, safety, health reasons why this project has been on the capital improvement plan for a long time. And this was one of the projects for the last 4 years that I thought we would be eligible for some type of state or federal assistance. Every single grant opportunity that we've had, we've applied for dredging for the Wepawag River. And this is not, for a variety of reasons, this is not one of the project that any of the grant administrators has deemed eligible. Most of the projects that we have been awarded, as you see from number 200 general municipal, have been along the coastline. This, again, funnels out to the sound, but is inland more, and you don't see the storm surge going into the Wepawag River, so it's not something that a lot of the resiliency grants that have been out there, have been funded, well-funded recently, have been targeted. So that's one of the reasons why we made out of. Steve Johnson and Mary Rose have gotten a lot of smaller project, a lot of smaller grant awards for the WEPWOG. I know that through the Southwest Conservation District, we've gotten some small grants, and we've also gotten some other grants, but again, for very small amounts. This is a big project, and it's been on the capital improvement plan since I can remember.
This,
Is there anything you'd like to present?
No?
We're going to keep, and again, just because we fund this project, you have before you a copy of, back when I was an alderman, the WEPWOG Ponds dredging feasibility study that the city of Milford conducted. It was completed sometime in 2012, but this lays out a portion, or not actually the entire scope of the project that we're looking to accomplish. This lays out a portion of the area that will be dredged, but this was something that's been around for a long time, and we're going to keep continuing to apply for grants, just because it seems to me that this is something that should be funded because of who's the Housatonic River, the WEPWOG River, the Indian River, the regional assets, and I would think that there'd be an incentive from the state to fund the cleanup of it.
How long will this project take?
Probably the most challenging component of this project, well, definitely the most challenging component of this project, is the permitting of it. And I know that Mary Rose and Steve and Chris even have looked into that to some degree.
It could be at least a year of permitting, once the drawings and draftings are done. So you've got a year of permitting, and then the projects themselves shouldn't take long to be done in the dry season. But we need the time to get the plans and engineering done to do it appropriately and get the state and federal permits.
With this number, are you forecasting out that, hey, it's going to be a year of permitting before we can even go to bid on this? Do you see an increase in the cost of this a year from now to do it?
The grant that Steve and I wrote last year, we projected forward because the report was done 2 years ago, so now 3 years ago. So we projected forward those numbers.
And we had, at that time, I think we had there's a broad range in terms of what was estimated back in 2012. And until I think we get down to the design spec levels, we really won't know. So this is a great first step, and I thought the mayor did a good job summarizing all the efforts going on in the past leading up to this.
So is $2,640,000, is that the total, or is that just the beginning?
In the cost estimate that the engineering firm of Fuss and O'Neill gave us was like 1.8 million to 3.5 million, or a huge range. And we are hoping through a better process, perhaps, and Chris can go into some of the details, but if we took this project on and actually became the contractor for this, or headed this project and subcontracted out the work, that would be a huge cost savings. And perhaps not, it might not be the Rolls-Royce version, but it would certainly accomplish what we've needed to accomplish. And I don't think there's been much dredging work, certainly in my lifetime, which has been 30 years. So this is something that is needed, just because it runs right through Milford. I think that the name Milford was the WEPWOG when the Pawcasets owned it pre-1639. So it really is at the heart of the city of Milford.
One other comment to add, in addition to the incentive that this sediment that's building up and then during the heavy rains is washing down into the harbor and causing the harbor to dredge out the Listman landing area about every 5 to 7 years. Last time they did it, about a year ago, it was like $275,000. But going forward, where they're able to move this dredged material and dump it out into the sound, those areas are getting closed up. which is gonna mean that transporting this is gonna get more expensive. They're gonna have to carry it further distances with more limitations where they can put it. So that's another concern moving forward too.
What's the material? I mean, what is it, just mud?
Yeah, it was.
It's silt and sand. Siltation is a natural process, it's just accelerated by man's actions.
Okay.
So it's the sand you throw on the road in the winter, but it's the natural erosion of the side of the stream. You know, people redo their lawn, some of it runs off in a rain, that all congregates up and winds up in the bottom of the river and in the harbor. The ideal plan for the river is at each of the ponds to have a dropout or forebay area in the beginning of the pond so that the water can slow and steady and have a maintenance plan going forward. The last time it was dredged was in the 70s, and things were a bit different. You just went down to the river and ran a machine through it. But at this time, if we do a maintenance plan, Public Works will be able to, on a regular basis, or an annual or semi-annual basis, go in and clean it out. Hopefully that will slow down the 5-year clean time for the harbor. It's not going to stop it. We're still going to need to dredge the harbor, but if we can stretch out how often we can do it, we can spread those payments out.
So where is this dredging material gonna go?
Dependent upon the characterization of the soils, it has to be tested to make sure there's no contaminants in it. If it's clean and it's fine soil, Public Works Director can find some place in town to use it, or we can sell it.
Now, I noticed when they're building the bridge on the Post Road there, they were taking some material up, I think, to Eisenhower, were they not?
No material went from the bridge to Eisenhower.
The trucks were going in there from that site.
The only trucks that went into that site when we did milling on roads, but there should have been no materials coming from the bridge. Which I just want to make sure which bridge you're talking about, the one over the river, right?
Right,
Yeah, there's nothing.
by Paul's liquor store there.
Yeah, no, there's nothing that
I
went.
saw the trucks come up from there into Eisenhower.
May have been the
Joe,
mill.
you're dating yourself, I think it's Mike's now.
Oh, it could be the milling, yeah, the road they took up.
Yeah, when we milled sections, we took a lot of the millings, and used it as a base to raise the parking lot down there.
Okay.
I think a bridge is a state project too, it's nothing to do
Huh?
with, that bridge is a state project, a DOT thing, a DOT contractor, it's not our people doing it.
Do we think that bridge project's gonna help the flooding at all? Because that was backing up on North Street a lot of times.
That bridge design has those forebay designed in on the side for the water that runs off the road. I don't know how often the state will maintain them, but they will be there, as opposed to just having a straight shot for any sand to go right into the river. They will be cleaning up, they've had some scour issues and stuff, they'll be cleaning that up when they leave, when they finish the project.
Are they increasing the flow of the river through there? Because I know with the highway bridge, the culvert's so small it backs up into the old warehouse.
Right. I don't believe they're increasing the size of the cells, they're increasing the width of the road slightly, but I don't believe they're increasing the cells. The major clog on the Weppawa, one of the major clogs on the Weppawa is the highway bridge.
Is the highway bridge 95?
But you see and we've seen it just over the last couple of years, that this is exacerbating the fact that they're struggling with the fishing derbies in the pond, but also, if you look right next to the Memorial Bridge, there's more land than there is a ponded area. Back just 4 or 5 years ago, that whole area next to the Memorial Bridge and the tower, it used to all be wet, and now it's all dry land. So that's something that really over the last few years, you've been able to see the difference.
Very good.
Okay.
Anybody, anything further? Thank you all, it was very helpful. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, the last item of new business is item F. Is there a motion?
Move to approve the ordinance appropriating $8,250,000 for design and construction of sanitary sewers and authorizing the issuance of $8,250,000 bonds in the city to meet said appropriation and pending the issuance thereof and making of temporary borrowings for such purpose.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Castanoli, seconded by Mr. Marlowe. Any discussion on the motion?
Just as brief background, a lot of the sewer projects, we may not be eligible for some grants, but there are low-interest loans that fund a lot of these. The Rock Street and Welch's Point Pump Station have been on the capital improvement plan for a while. The Rock Street Pump Station, as Mr. Cooper will tell you, is absolutely critical. And the Welch's Point Pump Station is also one of those high priorities. Dorena Place, we're looking to replace the sewer line there. And that has, how old is that sewer line? Is it?
Back to the 30s.
Older than me.
Are there, as far as ongoing projects, is High Street done?
High Street is completed.
And
Yeah.
New Haven Avenue is completed too? Over by West Haven line, is that?
That's Grove Street, the pump station, that's all completed.
Is there anything else ongoing at this point, other than Indian River, which we discussed?
You have infill number 2, which is going to be completed this year. That's the milling and paving. That's over on High Street, Wilson
That's
Street.
Okay.
That'll all be completed.
That'll be
And
completed.
infill number 1 will be finalized as well.
And those are that's Grove, is infill 1?
Infill 1 is over on Seabreeze, Kerry Court. It was little pockets throughout the city.
Okay.
So they'll all be finalized and completed this year. And we'll close those out.
What percentage of the city is on septic? Everyone?
Everything north of the parkway is on septic,
North of the hub.
north of the parkway. And
A few other little spots that the infill's been
which
addressing.
when we call infills, there were the little pockets, as Jim said, throughout the city, which nobody ever tied in the sewers in the since the 30s. But now it's fait accompli. We should have the majority of the infill work completed, except going up from the fire station on Wheelers Farms Road, going up north to Wolf Harbor. That's the last of the infills that goes down on River Street, to River Street. Then everything north of the parkway, there are no sewers at all, and that's all septic.
I was lucky.
Any further
Like 3
discussion?
weeks I was lucky. No, I'm also on that one.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And is there any staff report too? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. Second? We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Go
So
Brewers.
you do it?
Huh?
Yes, sir.
I got it just in time.
We moved it over.
I was gonna have to put a whole new field.
Wow.
I made it right.
Blue pen or black?
Get on my team.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big project, too.
We gotta get used to that.